On the 10th day of the government shutdown, the director of the Office of Management and Budget says federal firings are now underway. Russ Vought just tweeted the following one-line sentence. He said the rifts have begun. It's, of course, an acronym that means reduction in force or terminations. CNN's Arlette Saenz has the latest from Capitol Hill. Arlette, what can you tell us?
Well, Brianna, this marks a significant escalation in the government shutdown fight as President Trump is now making good on his threats for potentially conducting mass layoffs within the federal workforce if this shutdown dragged on. Now, we're still learning to trying to learn exactly how many federal workers will be impacted by these layoffs. But an OMB spokesperson said that the number is expected to be substantial. The White House at one point had previously floated that layoffs could potentially number into the thousands. So we will work to learn more about who is exactly impacted. But the White House had made clear going into this that the programs that they would target would be ones that did not align with President Trump's priorities. And he has said time and time again that any cuts that they will be making will be to Democratic programs. But this comes after Trump had really held off for a little bit of time in enacting these mass layoffs. There have been Republicans up here on Capitol Hill who have warned of the political perils that mass layoffs could have relating to the federal workforce. And so still there's a lot to learn about who exactly will be impacted. But this is just another point that Republicans are trying to make as they're trying to exert greater pressure on Democrats to change their mind on their approach to the shutdown.
And Arlette, today marks the first time that many federal employees begin seeing the impacts of the shutdown on paychecks. Of course, members of the military are poised to begin going without pay next week.
Yeah, Brianna, many federal workers started to see smaller paychecks today, and October 15th is a date that we have all been keeping our eye on. That is the first check that members of the military will miss if this shutdown drags on. Right now, the Senate is out of session until early next week, so it does not seem like there is going to be an immediate resolution to this issue. Now, House Speaker Mike Johnson has been facing some pressure to bring up a standalone bill that would guarantee pay for the military as this shutdown continues. There are over 100 House Republicans who have signed on to a standalone measure on that matter, but the Speaker told me earlier today that he does not plan to bring that up. Take a listen to what he had to say.
We have already had those votes. We have done that. We did it 3 weeks ago. The Republican Party stands for paying the troops. The Democrats are the ones that are demonstrating over and over and over now 8 times that they don't want troops to be paid.
Now, the Speaker also told reporters that bringing up a vote on a standalone bill to fund military pay would be a pointless exercise because he said the votes just aren't there in the Senate. But we have been talking to lawmakers from both chambers who have said that they would like to see action on this as those military families are bracing for missed paychecks starting next Wednesday.
Yeah, I've been talking to military families who certainly do not feel that it is pointless. They would love to see how people would vote on that. Arlette Saenz live for us on the Hill. Thank you.
As we continue to follow the fallout from the government shutdown, the White House today now making good on its threat to fire federal workers.
And this is coming on the 10th day of the shutdown with no solution in sight at this point. And we're joined now by pollster and communication strategist Frank Luntz. Frank, as we're hearing word that people are going to start getting riffed, right? So some folks who are furloughed are going to start getting fired. I wonder sort of what the risk factors are here politically, because you have both sides at this point playing chicken. So I wonder what questions you are asking about how this is going to play out.
I'm wondering, and you set it up perfectly, I'm wondering how they're going to communicate this. The public was overwhelmingly in favor of ending wasteful Washington spending, of making the government more efficient, more effective, and more accountable. And yet, month after month of DOGE and efforts in Washington to make those changes did not receive the same kind of public support that they did in the initial polling, in the initial conversations. And the reason why is communication. Rather than doing this as support for the American taxpayer and as acknowledgement that government had gotten too big and too ineffective, too unwieldy, it seemed like it was being done out of vengeance, out of punishment. And nobody was looking for that in the end, these are human beings, and how they were being eliminated had a big impact on how the public received it. So my answer to you is, first, is it going to be communicated as a punishment or a benefit? Second, is what's being done to ensure that those services that those government people were involved with are maintained? And third, is there any other way to do this, or is this the only way to give people the Washington and the federal government that they want, that they need, and they deserve? I'm trying to answer your question explicitly, and the only way to do that is to measure what kind of communication strategy they exhibit as they do this.
Yeah, and we still have a lot of questions, to your point, right now, in terms of we don't know exactly where or how many or how these cuts are going to fall out here. What we do know, though, is some of the initial polling. We had that poll from the Washington Post last week in terms of how it's being received. 47% said they saw this really as the fault of Republicans, 30% pointing the finger at Democrats, which is interesting because yesterday you had Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene here on CNN telling Pamela Brown that she is also pointing the finger at her party's leadership, saying we control the House, we control the Senate, we have the White House. That's been a Democratic message, of course. Is that gaining steam, though, with more folks in the country?
That also is what you should be asking, because in the end, it is the leadership. It's not the country, it's not the grassroots, it's what's happening in Washington. And the way that I look at it is which side seems to want to solve this, to resolve it, and which side seems to be more intransigent. Make no mistake, if all you do is blame the other side, which is what the public has grown so frustrated about, just blaming, holding people responsible, that's different than accountability and the sense that you're trying to make things work the way that it should for the people who work hard, play by the rules, pay their taxes, and are simply asking for the government that they pay for, nothing more and nothing less. I've been critical of both sides and how they've communicated, because there doesn't seem to be the desire to end this. Instead, there's the desire to pin the tail on the donkey. And in the end, that won't be good enough. In the end, the public expects something better from their elected officials.
We see your Go Army spirit finger over your right shoulder there, and you can't ignore, Frank, military families are getting hosed in this, right? We're expecting they're going to miss a paycheck next week, another one if this goes on. How much does that factor into the politics of this?
Significantly. There are two things that you do not do in a shutdown. You do not punish Social Security recipients, because hell hath no fury like a senior who's been denied their benefits, even for a few days. And the other group that you do not punish are men and women in uniform. Both of those will be significant players. And if that should happen in the end, they'll be held to pay at the ballot box. People do forgive. Issues happen, crises happen, and moods change. But if you deny our people in uniform their salaries, their benefits, you're going to have a problem months or even on election day a year from now.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.